It has been over 6 years now since Smash Ultimate has come out. The game has gone through so many different patches and changes in terms of character design and competitive viability that it would be impossible for me to go through every single change. But what I wanted to do was go back to the year 2018. The game Smash Ultimate has just released, and people are dropping tier lists, especially after some of the early updates. I'm going to look at some of these tier lists and see just how wrong we really were. So, I think the tier list that I want to use is Leffen's tier list from December 14th, 2018. This is a relatively new tier list. Going through this, we should get a gist because I remember Leffen was grinding the game at the time, and a lot of people we're looking towards him and some other top players for their opinions on characters, but these were kind of some of the general consensus. So we're going to start at E tier. Is E, D, C, B, A, and S. And we're going to go through each tier and see. Now remember, some of the characters that are currently good in today's Smash Ultimate were not good back then. For example, Mewtwo was considerably worse in early Smash Ultimate before a few buffs. Other characters were significantly better before a few nerfs like Pichu. So just keep in mind that there are some changes in terms of character design that made characters worse or better. Now in E tier, he has Wii Fit, Greninja, Link. Now, just off the rip, none of these characters are the worst characters in the game. Perhaps this bottom line is just characters that he didn't fully understand at the time, because there were a lot of characters that not a lot of people were using. But Greninja definitely higher, Link definitely higher. Little Mac, actually the first correct one. Little Mac is always in the worst tier of Ultimate. He's bottom 5 characters. Arguably you could put him higher, but I've never been big on Little Mac. Samus and Dark Samus definitely should not be E tier. Kirby should not be E tier. Mega Man should not be E tier. Isabelle, sure. Ganon, sure. The rest of these characters definitely not. So out of these characters, only maybe 2 in E tier should be right. Actually, let me jump up. Instead of going from bottom to top, let me go to top to bottom. So in S tier, we have Inkling. Now, if you weren't around for the beginning of Smash Ultimate's career or lifespan, Inkling was like the bane of everyone's existence before most of the top tiers began to be figured out, because Inkling had favorable matchups against every single good character in the game. Inkling would run through any single character that you could put up against it, even the rats, which were really good at the beginning of Ultimate. Inkling had a pretty good matchup against them, could kill them very early with roller F smash or roller up smash. The amount of damage that Inkling did was absurd, and at the time people thought it was just super broken. Now I do think Inkling is underrated and people are too down on her now, but at the beginning of Ultimate everybody thought Mewtwo was the best character in the game. I have no clue why Leffen has Mewtwo at S tier, I'm not going to lie. I don't really remember a time period where Mewtwo was considered to be a top 2 character in the game. Maybe Leffen was just super high on Mewtwo at the time. But yeah, I don't really that placement. At the beginning of the game, both Chrom and Roy were thought to basically be the same character. People just kind of ignored the fact that that Chrom's recovery was so much worse than Roy, because Chrom had so many cool combos. I think I even have a video up on my channel. It's called The Ultimate Crombo. It's a very, very bad video with a lot of dislikes, but it was the first video I ever got to hit 1,000 views. And everybody was going crazy over falling up air combos. Nair would combo into a lot of stuff, and that was back when Chrom's up B actually killed your opponent first. So if you were 1-to-1 stock, if you landed an up B off stage, you win the game, right? Now, obviously, it's like Ganon side B, where if you use it, you will die before the opponent does. But before, when you could die before the opponent does, it was basically a guaranteed kill if you could get it off the ledge. Roy obviously was very high on, because swordies were very oppressive. Peach and Daisy are actually where I think they should be. I still think they're S tier. I still think they're a top 12 character, top 10 character in the game, and obviously at the beginning of Ultimate, they were in the exact spot, so Leffen was actually right here. Here we got the Belmonts. At the beginning of Ultimate, I remember all the Belmonts knew how to do was spam. There was no tech, there was no nothing, it was just spam items. But back when everybody wasn't as good at the game, spamming items was actually super broken, so everybody put them S tier. I think it would have been cool to see a meta where Belmonts are really good, but unfortunately a lot of their gameplay is spam items, and unfortunately, that isn't going to work when players learn to play around it. Falco in S tier is actually really interesting. I don't really remember that many people being high on Falco. Um, that is actually interesting because I never really remember that. And Falco didn't have a ton of changes. Obviously, Pichu was S tier, arguably top 3, top 2 best character in the game. And then the nerfs sent her crazy. None of the rest of these are really crazy until you get to like Donkey Kong being this high or Meta Knight being this high. This was back when Sonic was pretty like, people didn't really understand Sonic, and Sonic got a lot of buffs as Ultimate went on. But as we go through here, some characters like Fox and Palu are a little too low. K. Rool was very, very high when he could still do the neutral B into cancel really, really fast off the ledge. It was a crazy ledge guard. But there's no real high tiers that are very, very low on here other than Bayonetta, who did receive a lot of buffs. Cloud and Ness. Ness is also extremely low. Same with Game & Watch. This was back when everybody thought that Game & Watch's up air was worse than Game & Watch's up air from Smash 4. That was a very common sentiment. People just didn't really understand. But overall, the top of this tier list isn't terrible. It's just the bottom, and I can understand the bottom not being really good, especially early in Ultimate when we really didn't understand what half of the characters did. Okay, so this is Esams 2.0 tier list. This is about the same one as Leffen. Let's see. So he has, one big change, and I forgot to note it in Leffen's, is that he has Olimar at super top tier. Now this is very, very important because in early Smash Ultimate, this guy was a demon. If you think of like today, if you think of like, oh, Minecraft Steve, everybody hates Steve. Olimar was the Steve in early Ultimate. Everybody hated Olimar. The two biggest Olimar players, Myron and DeBuzz. Everybody was like, oh no, here comes Olimar. Triple up smash combo for 60% every single time. Olimar was crazy in early Ultimate. I'm not sure the exact nerf that he got. I think he got a slight damage nerf. But at the beginning of Ultimate, Olimar was cracked. Snake counterplay wasn't developed yet, and everybody was super high on Yoshi. And I think people actually, it was like a roller coaster. People started off extremely high on on Yoshi. Then they went down throughout the mid level of Ultimate, and then now they're back up again on Yoshi ever since Yoshidora has been going crazy. But other than that, looking through these, all extremely good picks until you get to mid tier. A lot of characters in mid tier that should be higher, like Game & Watch. Like I said again, you see Game & Watch at the bottom of all of these tier lists. People just did not understand how good Game & Watch was. People just didn't play him. There was nobody really who played him. I don't even know if Meister was on Game & Watch. He might have been, but he wasn't like, he hadn't made waves enough for multiple people to pick him up and understand how truly broken he is. But obviously, this is a pre-DLC landscape, so no DLC hard counters for any of the top tiers. And then he has bad characters. He has Sheik. Now Sheik did receive some buffs. Ryu also and Ken never really received buffs. But I think these two characters were extremely underrated, especially Ryu. And then obviously Sheik is a lot higher now that she received buffs. But overall, this is definitely a better tier list. Nothing too crazy other than the mid tier. The high tier is still very, very decent, especially for early Ultimate. A lot of characters here that I didn't expect to be properly ranked, that would only be figured out later. But this is actually really interesting to see. All right, finally I found Void's 2.0 tier list. So he has, okay, so the top tier around this time, I am remembering now. I think the top tier was definitely kind of solidified between these 6 characters. I don't see many people putting other characters above these characters. They're all kind of solidified. Daisy, Pichu, Wolf, Olimar, Inkling, Lucina, because Lucina, everybody was very high on Lucina at the time, especially with Leo picking her up as a secondary, and Nairo was going crazy with Lucina. Top tier also looks about the same, nothing too crazy here. Link was everybody was pretty high on Link. I think he'd probably be in high tier today, but everybody else in this top tier. And then Chrom, like I said, people were still very high on Chrom, even though his recovery was bad, and they were actually low on Roy because he lacked the combos that Chrom had. And again, remember, Chrom up B was a lot better back then. Go down to high tier, you see Pac-Man up high, which is actually, this is the first time I saw somebody actually high on Pac-Man early. People didn't start getting high on Pac-Man for a while, and this is actually pretty surprising. We keep going, nothing too crazy, nothing standouts until, boom, it hits you. Ganon in high tier. I don't know what Void was thinking. I don't know how a person could put Ganon in high tier. But he's not. No, if you're wondering, there was no crazy buff that Ganon had early Ultimate that eventually got nerfed. He was never good. He's not good now. He wasn't good then. This might have been after the frostbite incident. If you know, you know. But Ganon was not good. This is ridiculous. Piranha Plant, also high tier. This was 5 years ago, February 28th, 2019. This was just after Piranha Plant released, and I think Void was playing a lot of Piranha Plant. I do remember certain people were extremely high on Piranha Plant and thought he had a lot of upside. I don't think Piranha Plant is this good. I don't think he's definitely not a high tier. Neither is Richter. If we go to mid tier, obviously Roy is extremely low, Samus is extremely low, and Sheik is extremely low. I would also probably put Corrin and Bayo a lot higher. But again, these are three characters that didn't really get discovered. Their potential was largely untapped for most of Ultimate. And then obviously he has some characters down here. And look, the two biggest differences that you'll see when you look back at an old Ultimate tier list is that you're going to see Sonic and you're going to see Game & Watch at the bottom. Now, there is an argument that Sonic was worse back then because Sonic did get a bunch of significant nerfs throughout Ultimate's lifespan. I think if you search up on my channel, Sonic buff or nerf, there's going to be a few videos that I remember making because Sonic got significant changes throughout the patches. I don't think Game & Watch has ever received like a notable change. He might have. Maybe a certain move got buffed or something. But overall, these are two characters that just nobody really knew anything about for the longest time. And then people started figuring out, and now every single Ultimate tier list will have Sonic at the top, Game & Watch right behind him in like 10th, and definitely in super top tier or top tier at the very least. But these are all the changes that I could really observe. It's definitely interesting to see how the Ultimate meta has changed. It's been 6 years now. That's longer than Smash 4's entire lifespan to when Ultimate was announced. We're about to get Switch 2 announced. Me personally, I feel like we're due. If we ever are going to get another Smash game, this is going to be the time. We are going to get some sort of teaser announcement soon. If you guys think that we are, let me know in the comments down below. As always, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys next time.